Everyone welcome. I tell NDE stories, like these videos. Thumbs up and subscribe. It's free and grows the channel. The INDS website has today's story. Get comfortable, get a drink, and let's begin. From 1957 to 1975, I was a dedicated Catholic student. Holy Rosary was my parochial school until 8th grade. In 2nd grade, I was an altar boy. Father Constantino, my pastor, encouraged me to become a priest, but I didn't wanna. Instead, I wanted a happy Catholic life. I attended Housatonic Community College after high school. For English Lit, I read Dr. Raymond Moody's Life After Life on NDEs. These instances seemed like hallucinations to me. Instead of reading science fiction, I researched NDEs. I read NDE studying psychiatrists and psychologists like Dr. Brian Weiss, Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and Dr. Michael Newton over the years. Their degrees from prestigious institutions and hospitals were impressive. At Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami, Dr. Weiss was psychiatry chief. Dr. Kubler-Ross introduced the 7 mourning stages. Before becoming authors, psychiatrists, and psychologists, they followed conventional beliefs for 10 to 30 years. NDEs were first assumed to be produced by drugs, hallucinations, or mental trickery. They tried to find a scientific explanation for NDEs in the 1970s and 80s, but failed. They hoped medicine would reveal the truth. Psychiatric facilities were ready to investigate NDEs in the 1970s and 80s, but Battle Creek, Michigan doctors thought otherwise. In the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, doctors and surgeons had NDEs. Eben Alexander and Michael Savum wrote about the real, not drug-induced, hallucinations. These doctors claimed NDEs were distinct from dreams and hallucinations. By January 1998, non-medical persons like Anita Moorjani and Betty Eadie shared their NDEs, claiming they proved God, love, and an afterlife. Modern medicine helped save more near-death victims. In the 80s and 90s, more people wrote about near-death experiences as medicine advanced in the 50s and 60s. My brain tumor was in the 1990s. The doctor claimed it began in 1994 to 1995 and peaked in December 1997. I had a fist-sized tumor that covered half my cranium. It was rapidly growing and lethal if untreated. The doctor advised me to prepare for surgery tomorrow. Despite being thrilled at first, I realized how serious it was when I couldn't drive due to seizure danger. The ER questioned about seizures, but I didn't understand. I stated I'd never had one when they explained. The doctors looked unclear what to do. Though surgery was imminent, I didn't realize how severe things were. While my wife talked to the doctors, I didn't understand my situation was grave. I figured I'd get some meds and go home, but I had a brain tumor. I'd had many surgeries in my first 40 years, so this felt normal. I expected my wife to elaborate later. My thinking was unclear. Though calm, I didn't grasp what was happening. The doctor stated my wife would pick me up, but I didn't understand why I couldn't drive home with my car. They advised me to prepare for another surgery by packing for the hospital. I was used to procedures like appendix, tonsil, and knee removals. In retrospect, the ER doctors didn't want to inform me how serious it was. I assumed it was a routine procedure, but they realized it was important. After ordering me to wait for my wife, they went without answering or explaining what would happen next, leaving it to the neurosurgeon the next day. Dr. Ferrara arrived in the ER while I waited for my wife. It was good to bond over our Italian roots, but then he asked me why I was there, so I told him everything. He appeared startled that no one had told me about it. He then diagnosed me with a fist-sized brain tumor that was causing several of my issues. He blamed the tumor for my wordlessness and stuttering. My headaches since 39 were probably caused by it. The tumor was large for brain tumors, so the other doctor scheduled me to see Dr. Hitchcock at 10 a.m. the next morning. I needed to confirm the appointment with my wife after receiving a message. After talking, Dr. Ferrara went on ER rounds. He offered to answer any more questions or let me wait for my wife. My wife came down the hallway toward the ER soon after, so I smiled when she entered. I maintained a beat when I told her what Dr. Ferrara stated regarding the tumor and the Hitchcock visit, even though she seemed serious. She wondered why I was so positive. I realized she didn't view things my way. I reassured her that a brain tumor can be surgically treated, unlike sadness. My brain tumor. Get rid of it and watch what occurs. After that, we departed the ER for home. The next morning at 10 a.m., we visited Dr. Hitchcock's office near to Swedish Hospital, where he performed procedures. MRIs showed a significant issue, according to Dr. Hitchcock. He pledged to try his hardest with the largest brain tumor he'd seen. I asked him about my odds of survival and what may go wrong, like waking up drooling or receiving a lobotomy. His answer was evasive, adding brain procedures are uncertain. Even though I continued asking, Dr. Hitchcock couldn't predict my survival. I asked my wife for further information, but she stated the doctor didn't know. Frustrated, I demanded a preliminary estimate. The doctor declined to speculate. His vow was to do his best without false hope. I asked about surgery in late January or early February after realizing I wouldn't get the answers I sought, but Dr. Hitchcock stated it was crucial because the tumor was so huge and deadly. That showed me how serious things were. Even though the doctor told I might not live until June without surgery, I wanted to wait. But Dr. Hitchcock openly warned me about the consequences of delaying. It got riskier every day. Now that I had all the information, I realized I only had till June. January had a slim chance, but June was more likely. I told my doctor friend my worries. Death around Christmas would forever mar my 1-year-old daughter's holiday, something I couldn't stand. She could avoid such association by having surgery in late January or early February. Hitchcock's demeanor changed. He advocated blood donation to prevent surgery complications. I donated blood every Friday before the surgery to make it easier. After several Christmases and my daughter's safety, I had surgery and a near-death experience. As I fell asleep from anesthesia, I entered another planet. An otherworldly companion escorted me through a beautiful landscape in this ethereal space. We headed toward a cluster of buildings to meet with my master to decide next measures. Although I was nervous about a life review, I realized it wasn't time. My guide and I continued to the meeting spot, where I had to decide whether to return to my body and raise my unborn baby. His birthday is November 1999. I had this encounter to validate myself. I planned this life, but in 1997, I was given the chance to leave. However, my pre-birth dedication to parenting my son triumphed. I promised to support him forever. He is 22 and a college junior. In the field with my guide, I began my trip back to my origins, though the details are unknown. At 2 a.m., I regained consciousness on a respirator in the ITU. I learned more about the other side of the veil from this event. My 40 years of studying near-death experiences have formed it as a constant learning process. With gratitude, I feel this growth will last forever. Today's experience ends. I want to hear your ideas in the comments. Till next time, be safe and blessed.